Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX, where we talk real boxing with the real boxing fans. And this week's show, we're talking about this Saturday's Frank Warren's The Magnificent Seven card. And joining me this week is Sam from SW Fight Hub YouTube channel. Welcome, Sam. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Steve. I've been a long time viewer of your show. Love the content every week. So yeah, glad to finally get on.
Yeah, brilliant. It's great. It's great to have you. My first question to you, Sam. This poster, obviously, is a bit of an old poster because I couldn't find an updated poster for the show. The tagline, Magnificent Seven. Can we actually confirm we've got 7 fights for Saturday?
Yeah, that was back in the glory days, I think. Steve, that poster, yeah, it's been chopping and changing like my underwear, the Magnificent Seven card. But no, I think we've got just about enough to talk about. And yeah, I think there is going to be some fights. But yeah, unfortunately, due to the nature of the sport, there's been a couple of injuries, hasn't there? So, well, hey ho.
Bit of change. I guess we expect that with boxing fans. You know, these fights announced a while ago. People pick up injuries, illness, and stuff like that. So yeah, we can get excited about it, but obviously maybe not get excited until maybe fight week when everyone's all good for the fight.
Yeah, that's it.
How disappointed you on the fact we ain't going to get Dacres against Adelaide on the card?
Yeah,
obviously that was one of the big ones for me on that card.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that one. Obviously, I haven't seen David Adelaide since he was knocked out by Fabio Wardley. It's quite comprehensive. That actually on the that was on Fury and Garnu, I believe. I think it was the co-main event to that. You know, Dacres is an interesting one. You know, he's 8-0, I think he is, with only a couple of knockouts, and with heavyweight prospects, you kind of see them stack the knockouts early doors before they, you know, kind of move up the level. So, you know, I think there's been a bit of word out there, maybe accusing him of, you know, not being the most flamboyant, you know, heavy-handed or exciting heavyweight out there. So I think it would have been a really good return fight for Adelaide and a good test for Dacres at that point. So, yeah, you know, that when Liam Davis and Shabazz Massoud fell off, you know, I was gutted about that because I absolutely love Liam Davis. But I was kind of like, well, okay, you know, Dacres Adelaide, I'm still looking forward to that. And Heaney Port, you know, the card was still good enough for me, you know, but, you know, when that one fell off, it was kind of, you know, like a body shot, you know, left hook to the body, bam on Estrada. That's how I felt when that one fell through.
Like it. Are we going to see that fight? Do you think? Will we eventually see that fight?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was thinking about it before I came on, Steve. I think it probably makes sense I believe they're going to reschedule Davis against Massoud anyway. So it probably makes sense to do the same thing and just get. I know Dacres is rematching Michael Webster, isn't it? That was quite a close fight when they last fought. So providing he gets through that, I think that still makes sense to run that one, Adelaide against Dacres on the Davis Massoud card.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And you mentioned as well, Liam Davis pulled out that fight due to illness as well. So, yeah, weren't great, was it?
No, like I was like I just touched on that. I absolutely love watching Liam Davis fight. He's value for money. You know, he always goes swimming and gets very wet in all of his fights. You know, we've seen him dropped a couple of times. But, you know, again, he just wants to get his guy out there early. You know, there's no feeling out process with Liam Davis. I think the Massoud fight would have been an interesting one. Probably his last one. I know he's got IBO, but probably his last one really before he was going to be getting into those big fights at 122 pounds. So to be honest with you, Steve, I was probably going to go to the show. It's not too far away from where I grew up in the West Midlands. So when that fight was pulled, that was the main reason I was going, if I was being honest. So I kind of made my plans that way afterwards.
Sure. Talking about the card, would you say it's still magnificent? Can they get away with that?
Yeah. Well, don't want to come across as being ungrateful because it is still a good card. But compared to some of the Magnificent Sevens we've seen in the past, you know, even the one in March, you know, it's a good card. You know, don't want to be too hard on them because they have had injury problems, but You know, I guess when you bill it the Magnificent Seven, and then a few fights fall off. You know, the Unmagnificent Seven is you know.
Well, someone did actually say on X maybe they should rename it the famous five after them couple of fights dropped off. So maybe,
yeah, whatever it is, it's cursed.
It's maybe that could be a way forward. Maybe when we lose a couple of fights, think about maybe the tagline of it.
Yeah, rename it.
With regards to Frank Warren, obviously you mentioned he's used this format before. I think obviously he's trying to quality over quantity on the cards. Do you think that's working then?
Yeah, you know, the Magnificent Seven format I've always been a fan of because unfortunately as boxing fans over the years we haven't been I know more recently with Saudi Arabia and Turkey coming in, we have, in fairness, but it's encouraging everybody to up their game, but we haven't really been used to, as boxing fans, having stacked undercards. It's kind of just been built around the main event, and then the rest of the card will, you know, be, you know, people getting run outs, or, you know, you get the odd British title fight here or there. But, you know, in fairness to Frank and the Magnificent Seven format, you know, you have genuinely got 7 competitive, you know, decent 50-50 kind of cards. So I think the way he does it with you know, quality over quantity, I think it's a tried and tested method, and I think he definitely should keep going with that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good marketing angle. You get some good domestic fights on the card, and it's like I said, it's a working format. People are going to recognise, I think, and maybe say, oh, another Magnificent Seven cards on this. The last one was really good. So hopefully that will be the case anyway.
Definitely.
The fight is at the Resorts World in Birmingham. West Midlands seems to be buzzing again on the boxing scene.
Yeah, for sure. You know, obviously soft spot for my for where I'm from. But yeah, you know, look at the big one, obviously Tyler Denny.
What story that is.
His story is absolutely phenomenal. You know, obviously the Five brothers kind of carried the West Midlands torch for a while. You know, we had Frankie Gavin, Sam Egginton's always been a feature of it too. And you have always had kind of you know, Birmingham based or West Midlands based fighters doing the thing. But, you know, like you say, more recently it seems to be we're getting a lot of cards in Birmingham now. You get one in a blue moon, you know, not so long ago. I don't think it's long before we see genuine world championship boxing back at Birmingham, which is going to be obviously great for West Midlands fight fans.
Yeah, definitely great to see, isn't it? Really. So
for sure.
Like I said, yeah, there's lots of packed fighters, lots of good fights to be made as well. With regards to this fight, are the fans purely going for the Nathan Heaney, Brad Paul's 2 fight? Do you think?
Yeah. It's a tough question. Yeah, I think for sure. Well, we know Heaney has a huge following in Stoke, which isn't, you know, a million miles away from the fight. So I guess you could say that. The other fights on the card, you know, you could probably argue that the fighters aren't anywhere near as popular. You could say, or not as well known, or you know, not at a stage in their career where, you know, they're going to have as big a following as they potentially can down the line. So. You know, I'd say a good portion of the crowd will most definitely be there for Nathan Heaney. You know, let's be honest, he has a big following.
Yeah, I think he's a good ticket seller as well, and I think he actually goes out and delivers tickets himself. And, you know,
yeah, for sure,
of his own back as well, which is a great interaction to have with the fans as well. The people who are paying good money to see him fight as well.
Yeah.
So.
He's very connected with his fans. You know, you have to remember with Heaney, he came through the small halls, and you know, Frank Warren signed him off the back of seeing his Delilah entrance. You know, that kind of thing is. So yeah, it's nice to see that he stayed grounded, even with obviously, you know, being a lot more popular and headlining his own cards these days.
Yeah, sure. The first fight was an SD draw. We don't see many of them, for sure. How did you score it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You know, trying to cast my mind back, 'cause I did watch it live at the time. You know, I think from what I can recall, Heaney obviously was landing the cleaner shots and doing better early doors. And then obviously the more powerful shots, and later on in the fight, especially, you know, Brad Paul's buzzed Heaney a couple of times. Me personally, and I'm definitely by no means a boxing judge. I'm an armchair fan like everyone else is, but I always lean towards damage. You know, I'm a damage guy. You know, Sweet Science is great to watch as well, but I will always lean towards the guys who do this. I think, you know, Casterback, I edged it to Brad Paul's, but I think the draw was probably a fair result.
Yeah, it's a tough one to score. Like you said, some judges may favour the better work. Some may favour the aggression, the harder shots as well. So it's a tough one. Do you think this time we're definitely going to get? I don't want your prediction just yet, but do you think we're going to get a proper decision this time, a clear decision?
Yeah, I'd like to think, you know, rematches tend to go in, you know, one or two ways, don't they? They tend to be like incredibly cagey, and they've seen each other once before, so they're kind of well versed to what the other one's going to do. Or you just get comprehensive, you know, the other one's just figured the other guy out, and you get kind of a one-sided beatdown. So yeah, you know, in fairness, the first fight was a cracker. So yeah, kind of hoping that we do get a conclusive ending to it. But you know, whether obviously we'll cover that a bit later in the show, whether I think that or not. But yeah, hopefully we do, Steve.
Right, yeah, sure. Zach Parker's also back in action. Obviously, after that defeat against Ryder, he's against Armfield. Is he doing the right thing? Will we see Zach Parker back at world level? Do you think?
It's hard to say. Obviously, he had the John Ryder disappointment, didn't he? I actually spoke to his manager not long ago, and speak to him quite a lot. Neil Marsh, he's you know, one of the best guys I've come across in boxing. He's obviously just been over with David Avanish with Boots at the weekend, and we spoke about Zach Parker. He didn't have the fight news at the time, but obviously we found out he's got the Armfield fight now. And you know, he's 30 years old. He fought on the last Magnificent Seven in Birmingham. I think it was March against Tyrone Zoiger, who obviously we've seen fight many Brits in the past, the German. He had Zach all over the place, in fairness. You know, he dropped him and he was badly buzzed. You know, Zach Parker did well to, you know, come back and win that by decision in the end. But, you know, if he gets through this on Saturday night, it's probably time then to, you know, you want to be making moves at world level, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like I said, he's 30 now. You know, you're not going to get many chances again at that level, are you, really? So
that's it. You know, especially, you know, he got the big Pride Park fight, this Derby's local football stadium against John Ryder, obviously, which didn't end great. But yeah, you know, providing he comes through on Saturday, I'm assuming there's big fights down the road for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We also got Queensbury's new signing, Chantel Cameron, fights Mika Halad, I think that's right. Female fight on the card for the vacant WBC super lightweight title. Is this a good fight to have on the card?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with that, to be fair, Steve, because I think Katie Taylor's undisputed at super lightweight. So I don't know if it's for the full championship or is it like an interim WBC?
Might be interim, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's one or the other, because obviously Taylor's fighting Serrano again, isn't she? I think on the Jake Paul Tyson. But yeah, I was surprised when Cameron signed with Frank Warren, to be honest. You know, Frank Warren hasn't got a great. I don't even know if he has any female fighters aside from Chantel Cameron. I'm not too sure.
Raven Chapman, maybe.
Yeah, he certainly hasn't been as active as Hearn or anybody like that. Yeah. And it's a good fight to have on the card. You know, I think with now Eddie and Frank working together, I guess Frank's probably gone, well, you know what, I can get female fighters and I can have them fight on DAZN shows or, you know, whatever it may be. So, yeah, you know, probably a good fight to have on the card. She's certainly a good name anyway after the two fights with Katie Taylor.
Taylor, yeah. Do you think we're ever going to see that third fight? I know.
Yeah, well,
one of the reasons probably Cameron left Eddie was maybe that little reaction after the second fight with Katie Taylor. Maybe I'm not sure. You know, she didn't seem too happy.
It didn't seem to end too amicably, did it? That relationship. There was a lot in the public eye about. I think she said that the offer for the third Taylor fight was not good enough and that kind of thing. And, it certainly didn't end with a handshake and a thank you. I don't think anyway. It seemed to,
I don't think Eddie Hearn's on Chantel's Christmas card list now.
Yeah, I think you can say
put it that way. I don't think.
Yeah.
I was going to go. You mentioned this, Chantel, good signing for Queensberry. You kind of answered that. Frank's not got many female fighters. She's a high-profile fighter as well.
For sure.
Yeah, and she's obviously recognised with them fights with Katie Taylor as well. So I personally think, it's a good signing for Frank. Sometimes I do get this on the cards though. When the female cards are high up, sometimes the atmosphere dips. Sometimes I notice that with
the lack of KOs, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying. Sometimes you get a good card, lots of action, lots of it, and then the females, no disrespect there, but maybe the atmosphere dips as well. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, I do actually agree with it. We saw Sky Nicholson again on the Boots Ennis card at the weekend, and while I think Sky Nicholson's a very good boxer, you kind of can write the unanimous decision in before the fight starts. And unfortunately, as a paying consumer, you want to see a bit of danger. You want to see, not fight, ultimately, if you're going to win 10-0 on the judges' scorecards, that's no one's fault. You're a very good boxer and you're doing well. But, the why Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, the first fight, gathered so much media attention is because, both of them swung for the hills for the 10 rounds or whatever it was, and ultimately in women's boxing, we don't see that many knockouts, and, we're bloodthirsty fans, all of us, we want to see vicious KOs. That's what we pay the hard earned money for.
That's true. That's what people pay for boxing. They want to see the knockouts. They want to see the action. Some purists may want to see a good Sonny Edwards exhibition of pure technical. Yeah, you know what you're going to get, really. So, each to their own, I guess, with that. What do you make of Ezra Taylor's progression so far?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of his fights so far. I think he looks like a good addition again to that 175-pound division. Looks very heavy-handed. I think he's had about 8 fights, I think, with 5 or 6 KOs. Talking about Dakers earlier, when he's had 7 or 8 fights with 2 KOs as a heavyweight. You kind of want to see your prospects coming through and making their name by knocking people out. That's kind of what boxing's always done. You build them up for 8, 9, 10 fights, get them a few knockouts, get people talking, and then you kind of test the waters a little bit that way. So again, another guy coming out of Nottingham, heavy-handed, your Lee Woods and your Carl Frotches, very good fighting city is Nottingham. So excited to I think he's in his late 20s too, so I think he's going to have to be moved quickly enough, only having around about 8 or 9 fights. I think he's 28, 29, so we'll probably see him move quite quickly.
I think the plan is to fast track him. I think he seems to be busy anyway, so on each card. We also have a good domestic in Cooper versus Usman. Do you see this as a 50-50 fight?
I do. I think it's a good fight. Usman's been some very good fights in his career. He's got a win over Chris Congo. Obviously, we know his skills. Beating Florian Marku, I think in his last fight. He's a solid fighter. Chris Congo. It's an interesting one, Steve. This, I think, you got a 23-year-old versus a 35-year-old. It's a proper crossroads fight.
Age against experience.
Exactly. I'll let you know in the prediction later on how I kind of see it going. But I suppose you depends what you like, but I think a 50-50 is probably a fair assessment in that for sure.
Sure. Okay. Well, we're at prediction time now for the fights. So I'm going to hit you with the fights. First one being obviously Heaney versus Pauls 2. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I'm still not 100% on my prediction. I will give you one though. I've just got an inkling that Brad Paul stops Nathan Heaney.
Wow!
I've just got a little feeling. based on what I saw, and he really grew in confidence towards the end of that that first fight that they had. There's a good carrot on the line here, Steve. I don't know if you saw at the weekend, Janabek couldn't make weight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Not really badly failed. He actually looked awful, and I think he had severe dehydration. He was in hospital. There's a big carrot on the line. I believe that if he vacates, because you can't make 160 anymore, I think if Nathan Heaney wins this, he's probably going to get a vacant WBO title shot, and they could fill Stoke Stadium with that.
Wow.
So it's huge stakes. I think it actually could be him against Denzel Bentley, who he beat for the British title in a rematch. I think they're the two highest ranked WBO guys available. So whether Janabek vacates or not, he might have had a bad cut or whatever it was. So, huge stakes actually for that fight, not just for the rematch and the British title, but
world title potential.
The winner could be looking at, and, that can give both guys that little extra 10%, as we know. But yeah, I just think Brad Paul's is potentially going to stop him late. I really do. But that's a bold prediction, I know. How do you see it going?
You put me on the spot now. I like Heaney, so I'm going to say Heaney on points.
Good boxer, Nathan. He's underrated. His performance against Bentley to win the British title was very good.
Yeah, I think it will be points, maybe more close on points.
He's not a big puncher, Nathan Heaney. He's a volume kind of puncher. He doesn't have that much snap in his punches.
I see points, close points, but I see him winning. Not a split decision. All judges agreeing, I think. Next one, Lane versus Kane.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting. Ash Lane, brilliant. From journeyman to British champion. Absolutely amazing over Bork in his last fight, but. Kane is, I think he's 11-1 with 10 knockouts. He's a heavy-handed guy for those weights. I just think he might have a little bit too much, and I think he might stop Ashley Lane in that one.
Okay, Kane stoppage. Cameron against Mekhalad, I think it is.
Yeah. Again, like we spoke about before, don't see too many stoppages.
Can I make a guess? You're going to say
we'll go unanimous decision for Chantel Cameron, and that's a shot prediction of the week. I know the viewers might be taken back by that one.
I was going to say, if you get this wrong, Sam, that's it. It's recorded. It's recorded now. So if Cameron gets that stoppage, you could be eating your own words there.
It wouldn't be the first time, Steve.
No, same with me. We've all made bad calls before fight. So going on to Dacris, he's had that late replacement with Webster as well. So how do you see that one going?
Yeah, well, the first fight was incredibly close. I think he took it by majority in the end. Dacris, I think he's probably improved a bit since then. You'd like to think so, more experience and that kind of thing. I think he'll take a points decision. I'm not convinced by his
knockout, really, or
25% KO ratio he's got so far. It doesn't indicate that. It'd be a statement win by him if he can get a knockout.
I was going to say, due a knockout or stoppage, really, with that.
But yeah, the numbers and what I've seen so far don't stack up for a knockout for me for that one. But I think he'll get the job done convincingly enough on points.
Okay, going back to that 50-51 we talked about earlier, Coop against Usman. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, that's a very tough fight to call. I'll go with Cooper on that one, based on his youth. Usman's been in a lot of tough fights over his career at 35. I like the younger guy in that one.
Younger guy, that's fair enough. Taylor against, is it Lamla? I think it is.
Yeah.
Lamla?
Yeah, I'll go for Ezra Taylor, the knockout in that one to move to 9-7 KOs.
Yeah, and obviously we did talk about Parker and Arnfield as well. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, Arnfield only really loses, to decent level guys. I think in the past he's lost to like Tommy Langford and Cello Render. I think the epic Cello Render and prize fighter back in the day. We all remember those days. So, I think Zach will win that on points.
Could be in for a long night then. There's a few ones going.
I don't see too many knockouts on this card. I really don't. That's why I was gutted about the Davis fight. I think that would have been.
Yeah, I was going to say it is a Frank Warren card, so you're definitely not going to get to bed on time. So
yeah. We can. We'll be sailing straight into the US shows there. Good segue from Frank. We'll be finishing at 2:30.
It could be. He is known for that,
Yeah.
And obviously, always ask my guests a few ending questions for you, Sam. It's rumoured that this guy, Sean Paul, might be doing Tyler Denny's ring walk at the AJ Dubois undercard. Are you a Sean Paul fan?
I am a Sean Paul fan, yeah. And to be honest with you, Tyler Denny's walkout song "Infiltrate," it's an absolute banger. As you know, I don't know why Tyler Denny's having to ask Sean Paul.
Sean Paul should be asking him.
He should be asking Tyler Denny. Liam Gall. The Eminem's doing the Crawford card. These top. You shouldn't have to be asking anybody. He's going to be performing in front of potentially they want 100,000 at Wembley in September. So go for it. I think he gets it.
I wouldn't mind a bit of a montage of Sean Paul's greatest hits, maybe a bit of
that would be great. Yeah, Tyler would be loving it.
I want to get my money's worth. Put it that way.
Absolutely.
Eubank Jr. signing for Boxer. What's your feelings on that?
It's interesting, Steve. I'm glad you asked that. So it's a partnership deal with Boxer. What does a partnership deal mean with a promoter? That's my rhetorical question. What's a partnership deal? I saw they did the big Las Vegas reveal and that kind of thing. From what Eddie Hearn said, and granted, we know Hearn and Shalom on the best of terms, maybe a bit more recently, but he's saying that he wanted to knock over his
handshake, didn't we, in the ring?
Yeah.
Awkward.
He wanted 2 knockover jobs, according to Hearn, before Conor Benn fight. It's all around the news. For me, from what I've been reading from multiple credible boxing journalists, Eubank Jr. versus Canelo sounds like it's nearly done.
Really? Wow. I did tweet this a week and a bit ago, thinking it could potentially happen. So, but you believe it's nearly done?
It sounds like it. Well, the Dan Rafael, who's arguably one of the most credible boxing journalists in the world, he said it was a 2-horse race between Berlanga and Eubank Jr. But the traction seems to be heading Eubank Jr.'s way. So, I don't know whether he's signed with Boxer. I don't know if they're going to deliver the Canelo Eubank in the UK, which would obviously be amazing. Be a stadium fight that. What would also be great, I think, would be Wardley versus Clark too on the undercard of that, and potentially a few other really big fights. That could be amazing.
Yeah. And Sky need this. They need that box office pay-per-view. They are short on them people. We got the likes of Adam Azim coming through, but he's not box office yet, is he? Ben Whittaker, he's not box office yet.
No.
So they've got to build them guys. And for me, Sky need Chris Eubank Jr. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. He did the Liam Smith fights on Sky. Eubank Jr., love him or hate him, and he's very much like Marmite. He is a big name. He's one of the biggest names in British boxing. You really can't take that, away from him. Outside of the heavyweights, you ask the random people on the street what boxers they know. His name's going to be up there, whether that's off his dad's name or whether it's not. It's just reality. And it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, he's established himself as a household boxing name, isn't it? For the general, maybe casual fans, even know about him. Talking about fans, Shakur Stevenson, boring to watch, or don't we just appreciate him?
Yeah, look, he drew the biggest rating on ESPN this year in his fight against Artem Harrod Union last weekend. I like Shakur, but like I mentioned before, I'm a fan of the sport. I'm a paying consumer. I want to see big knockouts. You mentioned Sonny Edwards before, which is a good analogy for me, Steve. For me though, when Sonny Edwards is 12-0 in people, he's pillow fisted. Sonny, unfortunately, he's not blessed with power, but he's trying his 100% best when he's winning them fights. When he's doing that, that's Sonny boxing to the best of his ability. For me, Shakur has a lot more levels to go up than what Sonny would do in that situation. So, he's kind of, you can liken it probably to Jaron Ennis at the weekend too. He could have probably just boxed Avanesyan on the back foot, what Shakur did to Harrod Union. but he wanted to go out and put on a show in front of his fans. And he allowed Avanesian to have moments, and he put himself in danger, because that's what you do when you get a big homecoming fight and you want to announce yourself on the world stage. Unfortunately for Shakur, his homecoming crowd were leaving the fight.
A lot of people left the stadium before the end of the fight.
Yeah, which is a bad luck. But
sleeping during the fight.
It's a bad luck. But I will say this though, Steve. I believe that Shakur Stevenson is cut from the same cloth as the likes of Tyson Fury, where unless he's presented with big danger, he perform under the lights in the big pressure situations like Tyson Fury. If you put him in a fight that he's not really up for, that kind of thing, he'll fight within himself, similar to Fury. That's my opinion on it. I think he can beat all of them. I really do.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's a good opinion. Well, that's pretty much it for another show. Sam, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate time. And obviously, people, I'll put the link to Sam's SW Fight Hub YouTube channel as well. Please check it out as well. I'll put a link down the bottom of the page. Again, please support the channel the best you can with likes, subscriptions, and comments. And obviously, enjoy the fights on Saturday.
Yeah, likewise, Steve. Thanks very much for having me on. I look forward to seeing the beers and snacks for the men. I don't know if you can get Birmingham beer and snacks, but I'm sure we'll have a go.
now you set me a challenge, hey? I appreciate it. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, cheers, Steve. Thank you.